Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, joined by the iconic Cheech Marin, and we're talking all about his new book, Cheech is not my real name, but don't call me Chong. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. It's a good Monday morning because I've got Cheech Marin joining me in studio. I'm such an enormous fan. I grew up with your comedy, man. So to read your book,
Thank you.
You've had one heck of a crazy life, needless to say, right?
Been a nice ride so far. We're not done yet.
Hopefully another 40 years to go. What do you think?
I'm not yet dead yet.
Writing this book, when you start putting these stories on paper, are you like, this can't be real? Like, I have to make half of this up? Because it's hard to believe all this stuff's happened.
Yeah, we were always in the middle of the scene, but nobody knew we were there, or I was there. It's like, and it kept happening one thing after another, like, oh, good. And you just kind of went with whatever was next. And so a lot of stuff was next.
When you look at, especially starting out, the stories of you starting out with you and Tommy were hilarious because I was wondering if that could happen today, and I'm not sure it could. You guys had such a unique start.
It was unique for that day, too, and it would be unique today, because nobody, a Chicano Chinese comedy team, what? They always wanted to picture us as an egg roll and a burrito. And okay, how does that work? And then we were just this other thing, so it was, I think it would work today. We would be fitting into whatever scene there was because we were just funny guys.
When you look at when you guys were first starting out, when did you have a sense that this may work? We may have a career in doing this?
Right away.
It clicked that quickly.
No, right away. Well, we were part of an improv group in a topless bar in Vancouver. And so, hey, man, if you can follow naked girls, they're funny. And then one time we played San Quentin prison, me and Tommy, and we followed semi-naked girls. They were strippers that had, their boyfriends were in prison, and I said, man, if we can follow naked girls in San Quentin, we got a good act, and this could work.
You start having success.
Yeah.
How do you figure out a way to keep it relevant, to keep the success going? Because comedy's hard, man, and staying relevant is hard.
What we did is you don't stop working. I mean, you don't stop. We're always on the road. We used to do 300 some days a year for many, many years, and we would just keep it going quick. Because if you stop and you kind of reflect on, you kind of lose that momentum or lose that energy or whatever it is, and you try to make that thing go for as long as you can without stopping. And the great thing about being on the road is you get to feel the pulse of the country. You get to be in Akron one day and Buffalo the next and Sarasota and Washington, D.C. And you feel the pulse of what's happening in every town.
There was a great documentary on Joan Rivers a couple years ago. And I always think about with comedian icons like you, like her, she talked about an insatiable hunger that she felt, that she could, despite all the success, all the millions of dollars she made, she could never relax. Did you, when you were having this long career of success, was that something you had to deal with too, this insatiable need to succeed?
Well, I was Mexican, so I always had an insatiable hunger. Like, I want to eat. Come on. Let's get... No, we were not real typical comedians in that kind of, fill a void in your life kind of deal. We were musicians all our lives. I was a singer, guitar player. Tommy was a guitar player with Motown for a zillion years, and so we always approached comedy as music, and we listened to it rhythmically, and all our friends. We never hung out with comedians because those guys were nuts, and we just
They're dark people, dark people.
It's like, okay, but we hung out with the musicians because we were musicians.
When you look at comedy and how it's changed, one of the things that I found fascinating about the book is we see where you started out to now. And comedy and entertainment has changed so much over that time. How have you seen it evolve?
Well, it's louder and it's more in your face and it's more outrageous and they it's not that all of them do it, but they force comedy down your throat now. It's like when we were, especially in the movie years, that we didn't know really what we were doing because we had no technique. We never made a movie, and so we would just kind of film scenes in big master sequences. And what that allows the audiences to do is to determine when it's funny for themselves. Not being cued every 2 seconds, like, Raph, okay, here's a close-up, laugh. And what that does is it allows the comedy to soak in rather than be forced down their throat. And it's a big deal. That's why the movies last a long time, because you can sit there and watch the scene, and when something strikes you as funny, you laugh, but there's no big arrows indicating laugh now.
When you look at the term Cheech and Chong, and the fact that after all these years later, people know what those two names mean and the legacy of that, crazy to you?
There again, it's music. That's why we named ourselves Cheech and Chong. Because I remember the scene in the book is that we were trying to figure out a name for ourselves after we'd done our first gig as a duo. And we said, well, Richard and Tommy, that's my real name. And no, that was Chong and Marin, Marin and Chong. No, it sounds like an ambulance chasing Chinese Mexican lawyer team. And so Tommy asked me, well, do you have a nickname? I said, well, Cheech is my nickname. He goes, Cheech and Chong, Cheech and Chong. And it sounded right. It scanned, and it was never Chong and Cheech. It was always Cheech and, because it made sense musically.
When you look at the people you've met throughout your life, that was one of the other fascinating things. You talk about the ups and downs, for instance, a relationship with Lou Adler, but then relationships with people like Don Johnson, then how you get involved with Disney. When you look at all these different people you've met throughout this long career, who influenced you the most?
The most? Wow. Probably Peter Sellers.
I love those skits, by the way.
There was, because we met him early and he was a big fan. I was like, huh? We were just right off the streets. I mean, really, when we met Peter Sellers 6 months before that, we were collecting pop bottles, and he, through one, you read about it in my new book, and he became a fan of ours. And he was like the biggest comedy actor ever in the history of the world. And he was our big fan. And the way he did comedy, the way he was all character based, and it was an actor, and it was there again. You determined when it was funny, and that's a really big difference. Then you see comics now, and they say and then very few of them have this laid back attitude where it gives the audience credit for being intelligent, and they determine when it's going to be funny.
Who do you like right now when you look around at the landscape? Because I think we're seeing a bit of a golden age of comedy, but who do you personally like?
I like this Louis C.K. guy. He's good.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, and there again, he's situational where he just because it gets out there, his stuff, and then you determine what is funny. I like him. I don't watch that much stand up, because it's, I don't know.
It seems forced these days.
Some of it is. Some of it's like factory work,
How do you stay humble when fame hits? Because you guys
I'm not humble. Humble.
How do you keep it from destroying you when it starts coming on like that?
I never have thought about it. It's just the norm, and that's the norm. I walk out every day, and I go a block, and I've been stopped 20 times. But just okay, cool. This is part of the gig.
Never gets to you? Like, I would be so freaked out. I would be like, oh my God. I'd be like Emma Watson, like, don't take my picture, go away.
No, it's part of the technique is how to get information. The great thing about being well known or something like that is people will come in and they'll tell you the most intimate parts of their life, details of their life, 3 seconds after meeting you, because they think they know you and have known you for a long time, and so they start opening up, and as a writer. That's how you gain all those insights. Oh, I'm going to use that. That's interesting, and you just shut up.
Are there moments, though, where you just want to kind of push away from being known? Are there times where you're just like, I don't want to be famous at this moment?
No, because it opens more doors than it closes. Sometimes it gets annoying, and you want to just have a meal, or you want to, you want to go to a strip club or something. and no, but you just... it's part of that. I've been doing it for so long. It's most of my life I've been well known. So it'd be weird if it wasn't. I mean, I couldn't get in. If I wasn't well known, I couldn't get in that place or that place or that place, or people would accommodate me. So it's better.
When you look at comedy and where it's moving, I think we're such a unique time right now because politically we're in arguably the most unique and crazy environment we've ever seen in our lifetimes. How do you think that's influencing where and what comedy is today?
Well, absolutely. The more opportunities you get to comment, and also the platforms that are available, they weren't available in my day. when we were first coming, there was three networks: ABC, CBS, the other one, NBC. Now there's 150 stations. They all have two watchers or listeners, but there's a zillion places you can get on and go anywhere you want. So it's pretty cool today. You can't get the bigger audiences that you can, but you can get a lot of little audiences.
Are you a fan of how much politics is playing into comedy today?
Oh yeah, I love it.
It's great, right?
I mean, Donald Trump is like a dartboard right now. Hey, what's this one? It's like you can't miss.
When you look at your life overall and your legacy, what do you think that legacy is? What do you hope it is when people look back on your life down the road? What do you want them to take away from it?
That they get the feeling that they're part of my family. And they do. I mean, people treat me like I'm a member of their family all the time, and it's great. I mean, what a great door opener, And it's you get there. There's nobody comes up. Never. I hate Cheech and Chong. I've never heard that in my whole life. Or I hate Cheech. Never heard that. And so, this is good. So we're doing something right. We're on this vibe here that everybody digs, and so that's good. You've made a connection. That's great.
I feel like you guys were the pioneers of stoner comedy.
Yeah.
When you look at stoner comedy today, is it as cool as it was when you guys were doing it?
Well, it's different. It's a continuation of the legacy. But when we first started coming out, we invited. We were amiable. This is the amiability of these two characters are kind of, tripping through life. But what it did is when we started making the records, and then especially the movies, it identified a worldwide stoner culture. So we were international almost immediately. No matter where we went, we go to Japan or New Zealand or any place. People knew those records, and they knew those movies, and they came out of the woodworking because there was this stoner culture being created all over the world at the same time. It was interesting. They talk about the Cultural Revolution, but that was the Cultural Revolution right there.
One of the things that also struck me about the book was how each and every time when you saw the landscape changing, how you felt you had to change career-wise with it. When MTV came into prevalence, then all of a sudden with Nash Bridges, and you're like, okay, I've got to jump on the TV train, then Disney. When does it click for you? Are there moments where you're like, holy cow, I've got to stay relevant and I've got to jump on this train now?
No, it's holy cow, I got to eat. And this is another opportunity to have a job. I always did the next thing. Whatever that next thing is, it would appear before me. Okay, do that. As far as changing, we never thought we had to go into this direction or that direction. We just kind of one thing after another, and when the opportunities to do a solo career came up, okay, and then led wherever that fell.
You talk about, obviously, the relationship with Lou Adler and some of the tough things that you have to go through in this business. How difficult for people who are just starting in the business, how corrupt is Hollywood? How tough is it?
Gee.
He's like, you got an hour?
The thing is you realize about Hollywood is you have to protect yourselves at all times. It's like the instructions they give to fighters. Protect yourself at all times. And that's what you learn. You don't go into a business deal without a lawyer, which we didn't know. And so it's funny. I talked to Lou the other day. I mean, we have a great relationship now. I talked to Lou that we had very acrimonious for about at least 10 years. And he calls and we're talking about something else. He goes, hey, I hear you have a book coming out. And I go, yeah. So I beat him to the punch. He says, hey, you come out pretty good. He goes, oh, pretty good? Says, yeah, well, you were good, and then you're bad, and then you were good again. So that's pretty good.
What was his reaction?
He does come out pretty good in the book. I mean, he has a good arc, and Lou is a very, very talented guy.
He's made a lot of stars in this business.
He has, and he was great. He's a very unique personality, but he's extremely talented, and we get along just fine now. But there was a period where we didn't, and there was a period where we did. So pretty good.
You write about your relationship with Tommy as well, and is it hard, the partnership? Is it hard to maintain over all those years?
Well, you ever slept in the same room with the same guy for like 12 years?
No.
24 hours a day?
No.
It's like that. It's like you know each other better than you know yourselves, sometimes, because there's nothing about Tommy his life that I don't know, and vice versa. But we are each other's biggest comedy fans. I love he makes me laugh more than anybody, and the same goes for him and me. It's you can look at something when we're together and know what the other guy is thinking.
It becomes that
Yeah.
telepathic.
Oh yeah. Because we have a unique relationship in that a comedy team is the hardest thing to do in show business because you have to give up part of yourself in order to compromise to harmonize with somebody else. So you can't, and so that creates a third thing that nobody else has. So you have to kind of be very aware of that, and you have somebody to hang with on the road. That's the biggest downfall for solo comedians going out there is they're by themselves. They go out on the road, they're out the road for months and months and just them. And you go back after the show and it's your hotel room and, or you're on the road, you're on the plane, you're by yourself. And they're not crazy enough to start with, and they get crazier.
What advice, if somebody was starting out, what advice would you give them to make it in this business?
Just work all the time. That was the advice that was given to me. It said, no matter, get on that stage as much as you possibly can, because it's like a gym. You go to the gym and you work out and you get stronger. And when your big break comes, your opportunity comes, you're strong. And because a lot of people get a shot at an opportunity, but they're not ready for it, or they're not strong enough, or they don't. Man, when we had opportunities, man, we were ready.
When's the moment that you realized you'd become a master at what you were doing? There's that moment for everybody when you do this professionally where you're like, I'm really good at this. When was that moment for you?
We were like, I think it was in the album years that we had been on the road for a long time. And for the first time, we took like a month off, and that was like an eternity. And we came back to do our first show after a month, and we were in Hawaii. And we came out and we kicked ass. I mean, we've never rehearsed ever. We just kind of get out there and boom, because we view it like music. Okay, start playing and I'll find out where you are, and and we came and we were better than when we left without having rehearsed or talked or even seen each other for a month, which was a huge period of time for us. And we came back at a different level. Like, oh, okay, we're stronger now than we were before. And it was like, oh, okay.
Coolest moment? What's been your coolest moment?
Coolest moment? Wow, there's been a lot of them.
I know. I loved reading about
them. The coolest moment? I don't know if I could single out one. I think the coolest moment is when you make your first movie. That's a singular event in anybody's life when they make their first movie, because you're participating in this centuries-long myth, and it's magic. It really is magic. You're making your first movie, and you're just kind of like, we're making a movie. This is the coolest thing.
Not bad for a kid from
South Central.
From South Central LA, man. Not too bad. Everybody make sure to check out Cheech Marin's new book in bookstores everywhere.
Cheech is not my real name, but don't call me Chong.